want to centre my first truss from the outside brickwork. A lot of people will measure from the plate to this point to get more parallel. What I do is I'll mark the middle of the plate, I'll level up from the outside brickwork and get that measurement. I'll do the same the other end, and then I chalk line all the way through, and then I'll sit all my trusses from that point to that point off of that line. So if anything's out of parallel, brickwork, cavity, place, they'll be straight. But what I find it even better than that is if the building's out of square, you end to have fascia higher one end than the other end. So what I do is, if there's 50mm difference, let's say for example, between the buildings, just move that chalk line over 25mm, and what you'll find is you'll get a better line on the fascia, and it won't be like 3 inches down to 1. It might be 2.5 to 2 3/4 or something on that line. Okay, girder truss. We've done it in line with the other trusses. We've got a diminishing truss here. That allowed us to get the position in the girder truss, so we can get it both ways. And we could set up our hangers there to do our infills. It's going to be a bit of an interesting roof here. We've got some interesting hips going from the corner. We can only get 2 rafters in here, so the hips will go all the way up, sit on top of the steel, and this would be infilled. So we'll have a little ridge going through, gable the other side. Quite interesting. All open plan on the inside here. Truss to hand cut. Diminishing trusses will sit on the top there. Mono trusses on top of that. We need to get this infilled, so we'll have trusses coming off our girder with diminishes sitting on top. Now how do we work that out? Well, we can stand all our trusses up and get a straight edge for our girder, or if you need to get that in first, what I'll be inclined to do is find out the plumb cut level up to get your point there. You can measure it on here. You can adjust that to suit the upstand. Let's say for example that you wanted to leave them all out of the way and standing up, you just need to get a truss up to know where you stand. You get your mono truss along here on your girder. That will give you your position of where this goes this way, and then you can parallel it from a chalk line all the way through the front of the building and measure off the points of the front of the building, so you can make sure that's parallel and square. Okay, what we've done is we have got a string line from the top of the trusses down there on the peak of the trusses all the way across the front, and we found halfway centre point of the span at the front and levelled up to make sure that's level, square of the building, all in line. The steel's parallel, the line is parallel with the steel. Now we're going to start working out some rafters, get ready for the hip that goes in here, and same the other side. And what I've got to do today is, from the line of our truss roof out till it hits the line there, will give us our point. So I'll get a measurement down to the floor, up to the line above the steel. I'll do the same here on the truss roof. We'll string a line, and where those points meet will be our hip. So we'll start off with a couple of rafters either side, and that'll give us some points to put our lines across to see where that works with the hip. How do we hold our first truss up? We put spikes in the scaffold and brace it up off of that. What I try and do is I try and get lower to wherever the scaffold point is with the board, or if I have to, I will run it to the scaffold, but I put a piece of timber across and go off that, because that'll stop lifting the scaffold boards. I also either the first truss across and I'll put a timber through to hold that in line. That'll give me a good way of getting that parallel when I stand that first one up. And I'd always tack that first one and I'll make a T up. So I know from my outside of my truss to the outside of brickwork's 400, my ladders is 600, my soffit on my ladders is 200. So I work out what my ladder size is and my soffit strip and measure back for the first truss, and then I make a nice T up with a piece of timber with that size on it, and I can level up from that brickwork and get that spot on and adjusted correctly. when I'm bracing up my roofs, I'll do it two ways. If it's crash decked out, I'll work out how many trusses I can have in a bracing. And if I get 8, for example, what I'll do is I'll get the first one secured as best as I can. I'll lean up 7 trusses against it. First truss, move one over here, put a brace over the whole lot, and I'll move them over individually and then brace the section before I move on. If it's not crash decked and we've got to do one at a time, I cut these small little pieces in, and what we'll do is every time we stand one up, we'll do one on these either side, keep them in a bracing as high as possible, and once we get 5, 6 across, diagonal on the outside, and that's how I brace them up as easy as I can. Okay, the lines are in. We've done the measurement from the top of the line above the steel down to the floor. We've done that in a couple of points on the trusses. We've run our string all the way through so it meets the top of the trusses to a pair of rafters. The line goes straight through, parallel. Now that will be our point right up there where they cross. 2 lines down to the corner and hip. And then we've got another one coming through here. We'll cut a little one for the top, a little one for the bottom, then we'll measure between 2 blocks. That way, if there is any outages on the measurements, we won't waste the timber. So we'll cut a little dummy one at the top, just a foot for the top angle, top of the hip, one for the bottom of the hip, or valley hip shall I say, and then measure between the 2 points, and that'll give us our lengths. I'm going to get the middle one in just to line it up so it's all straight. We can infill it. Do the same the other side. I might be inclined to put a rafter up, cut it back. So I've got a rafter coming through the middle and it can go through. So it's just a matter of cutting half of the raft to thickness back off the centre line. Okay, the lines are in. We've done the measurement from the top of the line above the steel down to the floor. We've done that in a couple of points on the trusses. We've run our string all the way through so it meets the top of the trusses to a pair of rafters. The line goes straight through, parallel. Now that will be our point right up there where they cross. 2 lines down to the corner and hip. I'm going to get the middle one in just to line it up so it's all straight. We can infill it. Do the same the other side. I might be inclined to put a rafter up, cut it back. So I've got a rafter coming through the middle and it can go through. So it's just a matter of cutting half of the raft to thickness back off the centre line. Getting ready for the diminishing trusses. We've got a truss in at the other end. A mono truss. We've got our timber across. It goes into the wall. Even though the double's bigger than a truss double girder. Anyway, got one across the top for the ridge. We've got to cut it out around the chimney after, but at least we know where our lines are. We've checked everything for level and lines, it's all parallel. And we're going to start getting these infilled today. And then we work out a plan of action to get all them infilled. We've got a couple of different ways to do the diminishing trusses, which we will go through. Everything's set out, all the lines are ready. Get ready for infill. Okay, I've got a couple of ways that I do these diminishing trusses. First one is timber all the way through the top. I get up there and I look through the other roof. I put a noggin underneath it or just a bit of tempered timber to hold that in line, so that's straight all the way through. Then, once this is in position, if there are any differences in the size, which is common, I split the difference, I tack it to my rafter, truss, level out, and those level marks is where I fix this, making sure that it's in line at the peak of that ridge. It's the first way. Second way of doing this, timber way through the top, take the slack off with a noggin, bit of timber to pick it up in the other roof. Two timbers where they both touch flat, two trusses, so that line is through. Same the other side, and now you can take this out and you can move it and wiggle it up the roof until it touches both pieces of the 4x1 timber and is in line with the top. I put a 2 foot level on it, I make sure it's level, but I make sure there's 3 points of contact, I tack it, then I put a piece of timber. Either cut the bevel in, push it up tight, or just a piece of 4x1. Yep. 4x1 bracing. I start from the top all the way down to the bottom. I see a lot of drawings where they do it the other way around, from the bottom up. I disagree. That's the strongest point. I try and get it at 45 degrees if I can, and wherever I finish it on the plate, I'll start the next bracing all the way up. I lay it on top first, and I say I don't actually do monkey boy no more. New monkey boys took over. I've done too many years of being monkey boy. But what I do is with the vertical ones, I used to put the vertical ones in, lay them all on top, even put the straps up there, take my saw up there, and when you're up there, you could do all the bracing from all the timbers laying on top of the verticals, and then you don't have to get down. I would mark all my straps, level up from the bottom with a bit of 4x1, do them all in one big hit. Okay, 4x1 bracing. I always start from the top down to the bottom. I see a lot of drawings where they do it the other way around, from the bottom up. Personally, I disagree. That's the strongest point. I lay them on top of the roof first, see where they're going to go, slide them down to the plate, and that's where I start again, and I'll do my best to get them at 45. Well, I say I ain't actually monkey boy no more. Someone's took over for monkey boy. I've done too many years of it. All the horizontal ones, I lay all the timbers on top of that, so once you're up there, you can walk along the horizontal 4x1 bracing, and you don't have to come back down. I take the handsaw up there, I mark the straps 100mm so they go, when I put them on, they go over the blockwork. I even take the handsaw up there and along a bit of 4x1 and a level, and I can do everything from up there, and you don't have to get down until it's complete. Has been an interesting build. Starting from the trusses actually. When we got the trusses up, we had the girders one come up first, and I should have checked them. A little bit of schoolboy error, and I should have noticed that the bigger binders on the first two was the girder trusses, which were over here. I had to take them out and change them around, and I actually knocked a few trusses over. So plenty of bracing. Don't make the same mistake twice. Learn from others' mistake like mine, and double check them numbers. All the tags facing the same direction, just little things. And yeah, chimney on the inside's been a bit difficult. Trying to get up there, but trying to work it in a way that we've got nothing in the way. So what we've got done is now is with steels all supported up here, get the bricklayers to brick that up under the steel. That can come out. Gonna start plying up the valleys. Plan to come back for a day next week. Hopefully get that infield once the brickies are finished. Okay, I was hoping to finish this truss roof, go back, do the infill, do all the fascia and soffit. Unfortunately, I had another job on at the same time, and my lads were there, two guys off, clients were living there, and the rain was coming through and getting them wet. They was laying in bed, putting out buckets. They wasn't worried about getting a tin hat scaffolding. Size of the roof, it was about £30,000 over engineered scaffold. They was doing a complete refurb anyway. The weather's been fine. It got towards the end and it was getting a bit ropey. So unfortunately, the builder on the truss roof had to get somebody else to finish it, which is a real shame because I would have liked to have helped him out a bit more. They throw a lot of work my way. The roof with the leaks, I probably won't get any more work from them, just for the fact it was private. But morally, I could not leave them with water coming through the house. So we went there. We had me doing the fascias on the front on a flat roof, and they was doing the felting themselves as we was putting a fascia on. I had bricklayers bricklaying the gable up while I was putting the ladder soffits on. So it was just a no-no. I just couldn't make it. But hopefully the client will send me, the builder that I was doing the work for will send me some pictures. I'd love to see it finished. Really nice fella, lovely job. So I still uploaded this video. I wasn't going to bother because it wasn't complete, but I think there's some useful tips in there when it comes to truss roofs, because it's not your standard truss roof, and yes, there's a lot more complicated than that, but there was a lot of things to oversee between the trusses and the handcut and where they met and at various points. So hopefully this will be some tips that will improve other people's work. Please give me some insight on the feedback of what my videos are like and how I can improve them. And please subscribe to the channel because it really helps the algorithm and it allows me to carry on doing more of these.